Hello, everyone. I'm going to give just 1 or 2 more minutes before we get started to see if anybody else is going to join us. Otherwise, we'll have a fairly small group, but hopefully we can learn some things. So hang tight for just a minute. Thanks. All right. I hope everyone can hear me okay. A couple things before we get started. If you haven't been to one of these before, welcome. And a couple of housekeeping items here. On your webinar dashboard, there should be an area to raise your hand. It looks like a little hand. So if you have something you'd like to bring up, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Everybody's muted right now, but I'll take you off mute and you can ask a question. Otherwise, there's also a questions area in that same dashboard, webinar dashboard there, and you can submit it that way and I'll run through it. But I do have a couple of items I want to cover myself, and then from there, hopefully you guys have any questions, or if not, then it'll be a short one. So welcome. My name is Jeff Hebrink. I may or may not have worked with you on the sales side of the house, but that's my role here as a customer success consultant on the sales side. So kind of helping you answer questions before you would get started on the cloud. So the goal of these monthly meetings is to just kind of go through anything new we might have, or just topics that have been coming up recently in support, be proactive, learn a little bit more, and then also learn from each other. So that's why if you have any questions or want to share anything, maybe a success story or something you're having issues with, feel free to do that here. So all right, so I think I've got my screen sharing on. I want to just ask a couple of questions. I know there's not many people here, but I want to ask a couple of questions just to gauge who I have here. So if you could answer the poll, which you should be seeing on your screen, and then I can gauge how long you've been using the system. All right. And then I'm going to ask another one here. I'll just ask a few here just so get an idea. Again, we don't have very many people, so it's easy. And then I'll save the rest for now. And then I do have a question already, but what I thought I would talk about first is just kind of the one main item I want to go through that's been kind of coming up, and it's for custom fields. So actually, yeah, I will launch this poll question just to get an idea of if you guys use custom fields or not. So we'll see, first of all, if you use them, and maybe you're not sure what I mean by custom fields. So if you're on, if you could answer that question quick. All right, and then one last poll here, just so I can get an idea for those of you that use custom fields. All right, looks like there may be one more person that needs to answer quick. All right. Okay, perfect. So, looks like when I see how many people use, half the people do. Again, there's not very many people on here, but half the people use it, other half doesn't know what they are. And then with regards to, do you show them on your booking engine? That's about a third each. So third yes, third no, third for the people that are not sure what it is. So let me go through what I mean by custom fields. So what I mean by that is, let's just take a look at a reservation here. You should be familiar with this kind of screen. This is the reservation screen. But what I mean by custom fields is, on my database here, it's everything below the reason for stay. So if you don't have any custom fields, this area is not here. But custom fields are the ability to basically put in a field to be able to track anything that you want. So you get to define all of these things. So whether you want to kind of track them for every reservation, you don't have to fill them out, but so that's kind of what I mean. And then I want to show you how you would set those up for the people that weren't sure what they are, not using them. In the configuration area is the custom fields and dates. So I didn't necessarily talk about dates, but I'll go through the fields first. So this is where you'd set it up, and for those of you that don't use it or maybe want to use it or want to add new ones, this is where you go and you hit add a new custom field. So there is like what it is. You could say new custom field here. And then does it apply to the person? Meaning, do I want this field to show up when I'm looking at the person record, like their name and address and phone number, or do I want to do it for the reservation section? A lot of times it's for reservations. And then flag is important or not means that this field is going to show up when maybe I print a housekeeping report or an arrivals report. And then here is mark as required, and also show on booking engine. Most of the time it's not marked as required for the software. Show on booking engine is the ability to actually show that on the booking engine. So kind of that last process of making that reservation where they're putting in their information. I'm going to put that as no for now. So we'll save that. So I've added that custom field, and then here is basically where you have a list of custom fields here, and you want to kind of manage what shows up in your booking engine. And let me hop over to that booking engine just to show you where it's at. So this is kind of that last screen of my booking engine, and I've already created the dates in the room. This is where it's under additional information. So you can see that when it's bold, it's required, and then otherwise it says optional on here. So this is how you set those things up. So configure fields on the booking engine. So the first couple are source of contact. Do you want to not show it at all? Do you want to show it but allow them to skip it, which means it's optional, or do you want to show it and require them? Again, same thing for reason for stay. And then here would list all of your custom fields. So this is where you can, again, say, I don't want to show this field, or I want to show it, but it's optional, or I want to show it and require them to put something in there. So for each one of those fields, you can do that. And then it also allows you to sort that. So maybe you want to put the additional guest name on top and the arrival date on the bottom. You can kind of reorganize that. So that's kind of how you save that. And when you do that, that's kind of how it's going to appear on the booking engine. So some ideas, I know that additional guest name, that kind of came up a lot when people were asking. Allergies, specific allergies, that's something that, you know, maybe it's not marked as required, but they do want to show that on there just in case, you know, they have allergies, and maybe diet restrictions on there too. So that allows you to kind of at least capture that, have the ability for that person making their reservation to share some information with you that maybe, you know, it's not their name and address and when they're coming and what room they're staying in. So again, kind of those are some thought processes around those. And, you know, maybe if anybody has any custom field that they are using that they get great feedback on, or that I didn't mention, if you want to throw that in out there, I can share that too. So what questions, does anybody have any questions on custom fields or how to use them, or anything regarding that? And again, it looks like there's a few people that joined a little bit later here. If you haven't attended, there's an option to raise your hand on that webinar dashboard, or ask a question in there too. So please do that if you have any questions on that. But any other questions on the custom field aspect of it? All right, so I don't see any. I do see a person up. Wendy's got her hand raised. So let me unmute you, Wendy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. I can hear you. So what, do you have something to share or question, or?
Yes, I put the question in the chat box, but I have a custom field labeled additional guest, and I've applied it to the reservation. And so when I get that reservation in, the additional guest name displays on the reservation page, but it doesn't show up on the person page. So for each reservation we get online, we have to then cut and paste the additional guest name and add it to the contact information. And is there a way to automate this so we don't have to do that manually every time? And if not automatic, do I need to add an additional name for both the person and the reservation?
So a couple of things. So you could have that custom field be on the person record, or do you, when you transfer it over, if they've entered it on the reservation, do you transfer it right into the name field, or where do you track that on the person record? So Bill maybe made a reservation, and then you go in here.
Right, and then I manually edit that and add it to the additional name. Okay,
it's kind of like this. Actually, I didn't plan this, but it looks like here I have that same scenario. Bill Brown, this is Bill's person record, and then there's a John Smith. So yeah, good question. There's no way to kind of automatically transfer that from the reservation to the person. The concept behind the additional guest name is, for most people, the additional guest sometimes is just for this reservation. So it may not always be their husband or wife or whatever. It may be that they're bringing their brother this time. So it isn't necessarily something that we just kind of want to instantly put on their person record, because they may or may not be bringing that person the next time, or even want it on there. So the concept there is there's a little separation between, this is an additional guest I'm bringing this reservation. It's not necessarily somebody I want tied to my record forever, if that makes sense. So that's what, the additional guest, that's what a lot of people are doing. So it sounds like in your scenario, you always want to just, whatever additional guests they're bringing for that reservation, you also just kind of want to always put it in that record as well.
Yes, but my situation, for my business, most of our guests are together, husband and wife or partners that are together. So it's not as common to have, like, bring your wife this time and bring your lover the next time. It doesn't necessarily happen here.
Sure.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I guess my thought on mentioning that is that it could be, right? So the programmers, the developers of the system, and in general, we try not to assume a lot, because you want it to always follow the person, but the next person might be like, well, I don't want it added to their person record all the time. So a great way around that obviously would be maybe a setting where if they fill this out, automatically copy that back and forth. But right now, there's no way to do that. And by the way, I write all this stuff down too, just to bring it up, and then I also share this recording too, so people can get an idea. So that would be something I can bring to them and just kind of get their thoughts on how they could change that or automatically copy that in the future.
Well, you gave me a terrific use case and explanation of why you wouldn't automate that, and it's understandable. Given that so many of ours are actually, like I said, husband and wife coming, would it be more advantageous to us to just set up an additional name field, custom field for the person record, and only change the additional guest if it changes there? Could we do it opposite, so the name shows up in the contact information on the person record, and then if it's the same, no harm, no foul, but if it's different, we can change it?
Yeah, or the other scenario that's just bringing up on the top of my head is maybe you could have a couple of different fields. One is maybe spouse or significant other if you're bringing it, and make it optional, right? So maybe they're not, but then that's tied to the person record, and then
Right.
the additional guest, who are you bringing, can maybe be optional as well, but could maybe be different than necessarily their, maybe it's not necessarily their spouse or significant other, but it's an additional guest that they're bringing with this reservation. But let me think about that too, and then, like I said, I'll bring it to the developers and just kind of ask their thoughts on everything, and then I'll follow up with you via email too, just to get an idea. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have any questions? Wendy, I think it was you maybe exporting emails. How do I export emails? Or maybe we covered that too. So if you had any other questions. What else, everybody? We usually try to ask in that webinar sign up form, we try to ask everybody what topics they'd like to discuss, and if nobody comes up with anything, I usually, like I said, the custom fields have come up in support a lot, and so I wanted to be sure to cover that. But this is really the concept for this forum is really for you guys to just kind of ask any questions. I'm hoping you guys are using the support So hopefully, you know, you're doing that. So, and then, you know, the other concept along, kind of goes along with that is flags. So, or tags, I mean, not flags. So tags. So kind of a similar concept there is additional fields, but these are more like set, something that you would use every time. So you have the ability to use tags for the that go with the people and to go with the reservation. Same area there in the configuration section is the people tags versus the reservation tags. So reservation tags, a sample of, you know, would be extra pillows and they're going to be an early arrival, or do not move this reservation, things like that, versus the people tags are more related to they have allergies, they're gluten free, they enjoy hiking, they frequent fishermen. I have someone called Drink here, so if you want to, they drink a lot. I think I was talking to somebody on a demo that told me, what I don't want to tag that they drink a lot. But anything you want to track about a person, you can put those in. And those things are, and when you create those, you can kind of flag them as important or not. So that's one area where maybe you guys aren't familiar, but you can flag them as important or not. And a couple of things that happen when you flag them as important is on the occupancy map, if you have taken a reservation and marked any either the person tag or a reservation tag that was important, we throw a little tag symbol down here, and when you click on that, it will show you you know, the person tags down here. If they had any reservation tags, it would show that up here. So reservation tags and person tags. So you can kind of get an idea if, you know, now if everything is labeled as important or not, then maybe, you know, everything might be flagged, but you can kind of use that at your discrepancy there. And the other concept where this stuff shows up is in reports. So you'll see like an arrivals report. So show me everybody that's arriving in the next week. And this is my demo database. I'm not sure I even have anybody coming in the next week. Oh yeah, here I go. So I got some people coming this week, and then here is where those that information shows up. So these are custom fields that I've labeled as important, and then these are tags that I've labeled as important. So that's kind of where that information shows up. All right, I think I have somebody that has a question here. Barb, do you have a question?
You are unmuted. I'm sorry, can
Barb,
you
you have a question?
I
Yeah,
did.
I can hear you now.
Oh, good, thank you. It was on the calendar.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sometimes when people are going to a backcountry place that I rent out, I need to know if they're having meals or not, and I like to know about that a week beforehand. But I think you answered my question. I think you said I can put it on my tag, and then when I click the tag, I'll see that, yes, they're going to need extra meals. And so I think you already answered my question as I was writing my question. So
yeah, so you absolutely can. Yep. So the other idea, you had mentioned meals. So do you charge them for these meals? Do you put them in the reservation?
I do. It's on my invoice. I can always go to my invoice, but sometimes it's nice just looking at my calendar and not having to click it on and then having to go, you know, all those extra steps. By having it on my calendar block dates, then I can see right away. But now I know to put that information in the tag, and that saves me like 3 or 4 steps already. So I think that's going to work.
Okay, and the other idea here, and I think I covered this a few times ago, but here's another idea in that scenario that might work, or the flags might be the best in your situation, but we have what we call key items. So if you haven't seen this or used this, and that's why I asked, you know, if you charge for those meals, you probably have them defined as a POS item, you know,
yes.
like a meal. And we have what we call a key item. So I have, let me see what I might have here. We'll just say dinner. So I have dinner here as an add-on item, and I can say track as a key item. So what happens is if I make a reservation, kind of like you, and then let's choose this, and then I'm going to add for Kelly, she wants dinner, so I'm going to add a dinner to hers, and I save that. What happens is on the dashboard, we have a key item summary that defaults to this coming week. So from the 9th, which is today, through the next week, here's a summary of some key items that I've got coming up. So I've got 4 boxes of chocolate in this coming week that I need to worry about, and I've got 1 dinner. And you can even break it down by the day, too. So if I click on the daily details, you can see I need 2 boxes of chocolates on Tuesday, and I can even click on that and see that, Paulette is taking those. Wednesday is the 10th, and then Friday I've got a dinner coming up. So that's just the key items is another area where that, in your situation, that may or may not be better than tags. You can decide, but in case you didn't know about the key items, that might be something you might want to try.
Great, thank you.
So, yep. All right, and then I've got another question here. Susie, marked as important, but they do not show up in notes on arrival list. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm gonna, Susie, is it okay to unmute you? Sometimes people have their too much stuff going on, but all right, I've unmuted you, Susie.
I'm
to
here.
Clarify, okay. So to clarify your question, so you've gone into the configuration and you've set up some tags and you've labeled them as important.
Yep.
But then you have tagged somebody and then you go to an arrivals report and that's not showing up.
They're not showing up in the notes, no.
Okay. I may take this one offline and maybe, I obviously don't want to dial into your database here in front of everybody, but we may be able to just go in there and see I've never heard of that before. One thing you could try in case something just got stuck is you could go into that tag and then kind of uncheck it and save it and then go back into it and then recheck it and save it just as something. I wouldn't know if that would help or not. I've never heard of something like not showing up, but that might be something to try. But otherwise, I'm gonna reach out to you after the webinar here and just see what might be wrong. So
totally fine.
So okay. All right, I'll unmute you there. What else? So I've answered Susie's. I got that one. Custom fields. All right, so I have answered all of the questions at least that I've had so far. Anything that I missed? Any other items regarding the things that we've talked about? And then I guess any other questions in general? Like I said, this is for you guys. So if there's any issues that you've been having at all, all right, looks like we've got one. Is it Lee or Leah?
Yeah, it's Lee. Can you hear me?
Lee, okay. Yep, I can hear you. What's the question?
So this question is for any other property managers. I'm just kind of curious how other property managers deal with owner statements, since there's no, like under reports, I haven't been able to find anything that I can even like copy and paste to do an owner statement. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you have your units are you're individually owned, and then the old were you a rezStream professional user? Did you use
Yep.
our old software?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so you probably have the property management module in that with that version.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have the concept of that right now. I know that's kind of on the list. I think it's on the list actually for this year, but so we don't have any owner statements right now. But I can tell you, I have worked with a couple of them who use the revenue by unit report, and then they export that into Excel. So basically, they will pull up the revenue, if you need to do an owner statement for December, so they'll say December 1st through the 31st, run this report. And then it basically will categorize each unit here with the number of nights it was booked, revenue that was taking in, and then we can export that. And it basically, you can export the summary, basically just means the total with revenue, or you can export the details, meaning it'll show every specific night that was allocated that. But you can export that into an Excel CSV file, and then you can kind of categorize that or separate those. Sometimes property managers have, maybe these 3 units. This one owner owns these 3 units. So you can kind of separate those particular units out. And then, so you'll see kind of this is for each room, each unit here, and each number of nights. So you can create spaces here, and sometimes people have a formula over here where they can copy this stuff, paste it into their formula, and then it'll automatically compute, the fees, the cleaning fees or anything else. So
Hey, can you mute me?
it's something that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I've got to catch a phone call.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. I'll mute you again just so we don't necessarily hear the phone call. Let's see. I think I have another question here. Barbara has a question on canceled reservations, putting all the original information in my notes. Okay, so when you cancel a reservation, things kind of go away, is what I believe you're asking. So I actually think maybe I didn't cancel a reservation. So let me just go in and look at a reservation here. So you're talking about when we cancel a reservation, you don't really have the units that were assigned or anything. Now, I can go in to the audit history and kind of see what the history is. But yeah, you're right. It does not capture all of that information. Oh, looks like here I put a little note here, canceled because of this. But yeah, no. So that's a good question about maybe automatically logging that information in an area, maybe putting that into a request field or some grayed out information there. That's probably what you're looking for. So right now the answer is no, there is no great way, but you could put that in special requests. It looks like that's what you do. and putting it in your notes field, and then you can recreate that. But right now we don't have a way to sort of store that information. But I am gonna put that as a suggestion for canceled reservations. Keep information on file. So sorry for the silence there. I have a hard time writing and speaking at the same time. And it looks like, Wendy, you've got your hand raised here again. I'm going to unmute you. What's your question?
So Jeff, I wanted to make sure that we were clear, because my first question about the emails. So I know how to export the emails. So we send a monthly newsletter. And one of the common complaints we have is that we've sent the email to one guest, and his wife has an email that she wants it sent to as well. But when we export the emails from the record, which we know how to do, I've created an advanced search that said search people based on the person data, match any of the following. And the first I have email as anything, and the second is the second email is anything. And then I search, and then I export, and I only get one email, the primary email. No matter how many times I try, that's all I get.
Okay. That one, I'm going to assume that we just are exporting the primary, and then that would be something that the development team. So first I'm going to write this down. Additional emails exported. Now this is for like mass emails or like newsletters or something
Yes.
like that? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me just go through here and.
So I just, in the very, very first record in my database, I just added a test email just to test it again, because you know, it just seems so logical that it should work. It just doesn't.
Right. So I'm gonna just do it here while we're on the screen, just so we can verify, and not that it's.
But it could be. I think something's confusing me, Jeff. I just realized. So if I'm looking at the person record under notes and details, yep, there's a second email field.
Okay.
Right, and that's the one that I filled out my test in my test email.
Oh, so you added a custom field for an additional email? It
was there when you guys migrated it over, so maybe that is a custom field there.
Took it, yeah, so if it's under here, these are custom fields.
Right, okay, so.
Now, there would be a good suggestion to export custom fields. So in your scenario, that would do that. But let me go see and see if it actually.
Yeah, because I selected my second email from the custom field, and it doesn't show up. And it looks like in the person record, it only lets you do the primary, and that's the rub.
So really, it still only so it still only does one. So I'm going to bring that one back to the development team, and then I'll give you a response as to what I hear back from them, because sometimes they've got some smaller stuff like this already kind of queued up, and they're just waiting to release the next thing. So let me see if that's something that we could quickly get in there and queue it up. But
yeah, that'll be helpful.
All right. Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I can see that where a lot of times I know my wife likes to receive emails from my basketball team, and if they only send it to one, then we're not getting it. So
Exactly.
all right. So yep, I'll follow back up with you on that one.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Answered that one. Looks like Susie responded. I don't know, Lee, if you saw that, but Susie responded on the property management. Sounds like she does something similar to setting it up in Excel for each owner. So, what else? Okay, so I think I answered everything so far. Any other questions, issues people are having? Before I go, I do want to make sure I try to cover this in every webinar, but if people have not already, this little question mark with a drop-down button here. Cover this. What this does is it allows you to get into the knowledge base, and then whatever screen you're in, it'll point right to the specific topic on that. Or you can search the same knowledge base. Contact support right now, that's an email, so it'll email support. And then this is one where it says submit your idea and vote. So we get some great suggestions on these. I love them. But you can also come in to the submit your idea and vote. And what happens is when you initially sign up, you get 20 votes assigned to you. So what it allows you to do is create your own ideas. So you have a suggestion, you can put that out there, and then you can also see other people's ideas and vote on those, and you can vote up using up to 3 votes for every topic. So any suggestion that you really want, you can throw 3 votes on it. That's kind of how we try to build the software out. So as a lot of you might know, one of the biggest things that were requested was a report, better reports, or a better reporting platform. So over the past several months, that's what our development team has been working really hard on, is building that out. That's still the #1 requested item, so hopefully we're going to be able to knock that one off the list. But I think going back to Lee, your question on property management, I think that's actually a highly suggested option. So that's why I think it was on, I mentioned it as possibly this year too. So, but be sure to do that. If you haven't already, be sure to sign up. It's called User Voice. Sign up for that, interact with it, use it, vote on things, and then that's how we how we go on things. So I always want to be sure people are using that, and the knowledge base too. So the knowledge base is a quick way to get in there, and a lot of times we have screenshots. I'll actually click on one. We have screenshots on how to. Here's one: export a contact list. So videos. So we have the videos going, screenshots, and just kind of walk you through how to do things. So a lot of times this might save you a phone call, or answer a question that maybe you didn't want to, or didn't have time to call under support for or anything. So check that out. Use it if you haven't already. It's good stuff. So what else? Any other questions, issues? I'm going to ask this last poll here just to get an idea. My goal here is to try to get at least 10 people a time show up here, and I hope these are valuable. It's kind of my idea to start doing these things because there's just a lot that this program can do, and a lot of things in here that people don't even realize it can do. So I try to cover a lot of those in these forums. And then also interaction is great. I love when people have questions. It allows other people to hear and throwing questions out to other people. It's great. So hopefully you find these valuable so I can keep doing them. I want to try to find a way to get more people to participate here. I don't want a ton of people because then a lot of times then it's hard to manage. But let me know if you can vote. Let me know if you find these things valuable. And then my email address is, it's probably all over the screen here, but jeff.hebrink, Hebrink @rezStream. If you have any topics that you kind of want to cover in the future, have any specific questions, or just kind of after the call here you thought of something, shoot me an email. I'll follow up with you. I know I have a couple of people I'm going to follow up with afterwards too. So, but yeah, so I appreciate the time. Looks like almost all of you have voted on that poll. And if there's no other questions or anything, we'll probably wrap this up for today. Again, I do these once a month. I think it's called the second Tuesday of every month. So hope to see you on the next one. And yeah, thank you very much. Have a great day.